Hello, everyone. My name is Jane, and I'm very excited to be welcoming you to our very special live Vic Farmer Time Science Week event. I'm speaking to you from Wathaurong country, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. Please make sure that your microphone stays on mute during the session, just so that we can focus on what Hannah and Christy, our amazing producers, have got to say. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to multitask and let people in as well as talk to you. All right, so I would like to start out by saying a huge thank you to our special guests, Danielle, the Vice President of the VFF, and our esteemed members of the PIFA board for joining us today. We're so grateful to have you here. I would also like to say thank you to the Department of Water, Agriculture and Environment for funding this project, without which we wouldn't be going ahead. So thank you so much. Now, I will be sending an email out at the end of this session with a bit more information about the programs that the Producer Protected team offer, as well as information about how you can potentially go and visit Yan Yan Goat West Farm and hear a little bit more about what happens there through Hannah and Christy. The information regarding the Kids to Ag program, which provides funding for schools to go out and visit farms, will be provided within that email, along with Hannah and Christy's contact details if you would like to ask them any further questions, or if you would like to find out about visiting their farm. All right, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Hannah and Christy now.
All right. Hi, guys. I hope you can all see and hear us and everything like that. I'm Hannah. I co-manage the farm here with my sister Christy and my parents, Jill and Andrew. And I studied zoology at Deakin University as well. So got a few things happening.
Hey, everybody. Was coming from southern Victoria down here. It's a beautiful day, winter's day. I've just come back from doing a bit of pruning in some of our agroforestry plantations. I'm Christy. My background is I studied a Bachelor of Agricultural Sciences at La Trobe University, and I co-manage the property, as Hannah said, with my family. And yeah, I think Hannah's going to talk a little bit about our logo. We're just going to share our screen here.
Yeah, so we're just going to put up our logo, which my older sister Michelle, who also lives on the farm, she designed this for us. And just a sec. Yep, there it is. So this logo kind of entails a lot of what our farm is about. So if you have a good look there, you can see all sorts of different things happening there. Right at the front there, you can see some sheep. So our main product is sheep. We sell prime lambs and we sell the wool as well. But we also do a lot of agroforestry here as well. So you can see a lot of trees in that picture too. So they're a really big factor in our farm. And then we also do native cut flowers like Banksias, and you can kind of see a little bush down next to the echidna down there. That's meant to be a little Banksia bush. And we also try to encourage a lot of wildlife on the farm. So that's why I've got a little echidna there, which we do have echidnas on the farm, which is great. So I'll just chat to you guys briefly about our sheep. We have a couple of different breeds here. We have first cross ewes, which are part merino. So they've got really beautiful fine wool. And we've just started to transition into a Highlander breed, which is from New Zealand. And the reason we've done that is because they're a little bit more suited to our environment here. So they can handle the wet conditions in the winter here a lot better, which is really good for us. So they have tougher feet, which means they don't get infections and things like that in their feet. And their wool is a little bit tougher as well. So it can handle a little bit more rainfall and doesn't get discolored or get a bit of wool rot in it. So that's really fantastic.
I'm just going to chat a little bit about our trees. So we have a lot of trees on the farm. We never used to. There weren't too many when my parents started managing the property. But I'll just say briefly that the trees are really well adapted to this environment down here. So we've got, sorry, I've just got someone knocking at our door. I'll just keep going here. So we have trees like she oaks, which are really great for holding back the soil because they've got fibrous roots. We have a lot of eucalypts that are great because they don't need a huge amount of water. And yeah, so, and the other thing that we're doing with the trees is we're putting the trees in areas depending on where they're suited. So we're looking at different soil types. So whether it's a sandy soil or a clay soil, whether it's too wet in one area where the trees might do better than the pasture, those sorts of things. So I'll just talk a little bit about what we do with our agroforestry. As you can see in the photo here, we've got some sheep in the forefront, and then in the background you can see on the right there's some blue gums which we grow for pulp, and then on the left we've got a range of different types of trees. We've got some she oaks and blackwoods, and they're going to be grown and then harvested eventually once they've been pruned for clearwood, and then replaced, but they're not all cleared at the same time. And Hannah's just going to give a little introduction of what agroforestry actually means to us.
Yeah, so for us, pretty much in a nutshell, agroforestry is about planting trees for the environment to improve our ecosystem on the farm. And it's also to make a profit as well. So we are looking to, make a monetary return off the timber and things like that we produce off the farm.
So I guess what I'd like to talk about here is, why do we need trees in a landscape? I mean, in our landscape in Australia, it was cleared really, really heavily when colonial people first came here. And most of the land was cleared down to 3% woody vegetation, which is not much at all. And it's resulted in a lot of ecosystem problems. So we've got erosion, we've got salting, we've got exposure, we've got all of these issues that are degrading our landscapes and making it more difficult to farm. And it's really reduced the biodiversity as well, the amount of different animals and plants that we have. So that's one of the reasons that we like to try and bring more trees back onto our farm. And what they can do is that they can slow the water down, they can hold that water back in the landscape, which then helps to stop with the erosion. They can also lower the water table, which is the water that's under the ground, and that can help with the salting issues. It helps carry the salt back down lower so that we can get more biodiversity, more animals and more plants on the land.
So some of the things that we do in order to manage the trees on our place is that we prune them. So we prune them up to a certain height, and then we let them grow. And once they've gotten to a big enough area, then we cut them down and then we replant. But when we're doing this, we always make sure that we don't cut everything down at the same time. So we keep habitat happening on the farm all year round. We don't clear fell anything like that. So it's all about continuing the biodiversity throughout the seasons. And we also have heaps of understory and things like that, shrubs and grasses and things like that are really important for little birds and lizards and insects and things like that are really, really good for a healthy ecosystem.
And the other good thing about putting more trees into farms and into farmland and into our environment is it's really going to help us with the adaptation to climate change. As we know, weather is going to get more variable, as we move along with the climate change. Having those trees and that web of trees that we've created across our landscape is connecting landscapes, and it allows animals to move across the landscape and move to different areas in the landscape where they're going to be able to adapt to those changing climates.
That's right. So that's something else we're going to talk about today as well, is the interdependence that's now happening on our farm due to what we've been doing. So one thing that's been really beneficial for us is the shade and shelter that the trees have provided. So we put the trees in, we're getting lots of different benefits, but for the sheep in particular and for the wildlife, the shade and shelter is really important. So at about 20 degrees, sheep start to look for shade, and that's not that warm. So it really takes quite a bit of management to try and keep a sheep healthy and functioning. So the shade, especially during summer, is really important. And the other thing it does is it prevents the wind. So we do get a fair bit of wind here. And especially at lambing time, which we're actually lambing at the moment, so we've got lots of little baby lambs running around. When lambs have just been born, they don't have much wool, and they're often a little bit wet when they're born. And when the wind gets up, it can really create a big chill effect, and it can kill the lamb quite quickly. So we like to have lots of shelter there for the little lambs to cuddle up underneath and actually kind of make it through those first few days without getting too cold and things like that. And one of the other things that we do as well to kind of manage our landscape to keep it nice and healthy is we rotationally graze our sheep, which means we're moving the sheep as much as we can onto different pastures so that we don't graze the pasture down too hard and create bare ground, which can then cause things like loss of water from the soil and a loss of habitat within the grass for all the insects that live in there.
So I've just got some pictures here that I want to show you guys. So this is just talking about the land clearing. So this land was cleared and then it was drained because it was really wet and the stock were struggling to stay healthy in the amount of wet that was there. So you can see how this drain has formed from that clearing, and that's a form of what we call erosion. So there's a lot of soil loss that's gone from there, and it's moving out of our landscape, ending up in the water systems and then ending out in the ocean. So we're really trying to retain the soil and hold it back in our system. So you can see here, this is an after photo, and you can see down in the bottom right of that photo, there's a post there. And so that post in the top photo and the bottom photo, you can see it's the same photo. So we've come in and we've planted out around our creek lines and our waterways and around different soil types so that we can help to manage that land better and get greater biodiversity outcomes. So we've seen things like we now have over 115 variety species of birds on our property. It's beautiful walking around the place. You can hear bird song everywhere you go. We've got these wildlife corridors that are just connecting that landscape up and allowing for movement through the landscape. So we've got more wildlife, more insects. And also it's just a really beautiful place for us to be. And our friends want to come and hang out and people want to be on the land here because it's beautiful and there's birds and there's animals and yeah, it's just really nice.
That's it. So really as a whole, we've created a really healthy ecosystem here, and that's kind of what we're about. We're trying to create an interconnected system that with everything relying on everything else and working together to create a really strong and resilient ecosystem. So we're on our way. There's always more things to do, but it's looking pretty good from where we're standing at the moment.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope you've all enjoyed our little chat, and we would love you guys to come and visit us. You can come down, I guess, when things are opening up with COVID again. But yeah, we'd love you to come and visit and hang out. And if you have any questions, just send us an email, and yeah, I'd love to chat to you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for that, Hannah and Christy. That was phenomenal. And we are so, so grateful to have had you with us today. I would like to say a huge thank you to everyone for joining us today. As I mentioned earlier, we will be sending out an email shortly after the session with a recording and also with information about the supporting resources that are developed around the Yan Yan Get West farm. I'd like to again say thank you to all of the students who joined us today. It was so exciting having you to celebrate Science Week with us, and a huge thank you to Hannah and Christy. I will be following up, as I said, with an email that contains information about our services. So we offer incursions, professional development for teachers, and curriculum resources, and they're all available on our website. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone, and have a fantastic Science Week.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.